can join in.
Seeing none and hearing none. Let's move on.
Well,
to
I
the
just,
consent-
I got a comment. I just want to congratulate Jim Redmond for the service that he's done for this district, and he'll be missed.
That is for certain. You know, the work that he did installing that boiler and the meticulous installation of that heating plant was top notch. And I agree, Lane. His skill and expertise will be missed. Anyone else? Moving along to the consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3. If everyone has had a chance to review these consent agenda items and they find them in order, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Any comments or questions?
I'd move the consent calendar subject to public comment.
I'll second that.
Okay, at this time, any members of the public want to comment on the consent agenda items 1, 2, or 3? Any comments from the public? Rochelle?
No hands are raised for public comment on the consent agenda.
Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
We had a motion by Dan and a second by Lane.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes. Moving
Motion
along to the
approved.
regular agenda items. First one is the report from the March 17th and March 25th closed session meetings.
President
Go
Cox.
ahead, LaRue.
Yes, President Cox has stated during the March 17 and 25 board meetings, there were closed session items on there. I just wanted to report at the conclusion of the meetings and the closed sessions, there was no action taken and nothing to report.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Moving along to item number 2, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 17th. If the members of the board have had a chance to review this agenda item and they find everything in order, I'll ask for a motion to approve. Any
I got a
questions,
correct-
comments?
I have a correction to make on the minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lane.
Okay, on item 2, you made a point that I abstained, but then it wasn't noted on the vote. I didn't vote for it.
For the 17th or 25th?
This is, yeah, on February 17th, 2021. I was an abstain vote, and it showed me as an aye.
Are you referring to the resolution, Lane?
No, I'm referring to item 4, number 2.
Item 4. Wait a minute.
It says at the top of the page, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting on February 17, 2021. Board requested the minutes be amended to include clarification that Director Lewis abstained from the discussion of temporary services, which I did, but I also abstained on the vote.
Oh, you're referring to the minutes of the February 17th under the item for the vote.
Yeah.
Listed as A. Okay, we can go back and amend those.
Yeah.
Any other additions or alterations? Seeing none and hearing none, any comments from the public on the minutes of the March 17th, 2021 meeting?
And 25th meeting, President Cox.
And and 25th. With that being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve as amended, noting Director Lewis's abstention from the vote.
I do
So
see a
moved.
hand raised.
Okay, a comment there, Blake?
We
I
do.
just-
We have a public comment by Pippin Meter.
Okay, go ahead, Pippin.
Great, thanks. I just wanted to point out that item number 4, the approval of the resolution number 3-2021. The motion says it was by Director Lewis and the second was also by Director Lewis. So I think there's some mistake there. Do you see, that's on page 40 of the board packet.
Yep. We need to correct that.
Thank you for the acknowledgement there. We'll address that as well.
Got it.
Okay, any other corrections? Thank you, Pippin. If there are no other corrections, additions, or alterations other than what's been mentioned, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion for move approval.
It's been moved by Lewis,
I'll second.
second by Blake. No further questions or comments. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion approved to include those amendments mentioned.
Next item on the agenda, approval of the COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave policy.
President Cox, the agency did move forward last month with a policy to address paid sick leave with the expectation that the state might come back and pass its own legislation, which they did. And we'll have Vic provide further information on that.
Good morning again, President Cox and directors. For those following along in the packet, we are on pages 47 to 53. In April of 2020, as mandated by the U.S. Department of Labor, TTSA enacted the FMLA leave expansion and emergency paid sick leave policy as it related to COVID-19. That law was mandated from April 1st through December 31st, 2021, and has now expired. At the January 2021 Board of Directors meeting on a voluntary basis, TTSA adopted the policy providing temporary continuation of certain emergency paid sick leave benefits. In March of 2021, California adopted SB 95, which requires employers to provide supplemental paid sick leave related to COVID-19. Under SB 95, employees are entitled up to 80 hours of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave from January 1st through September 30th, 2021. Accordingly, TTSA has prepared the COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave policy, which will supersede the current policy in place. Management and staff recommend approval of the COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave policy.
Okay, any questions or comments in regards to this policy?
Just a question for council. I mean, are we meeting all the current requirements with this resolution?
Yes, you are. It's somewhat of a moving target these days, but I approve the resolution.
Okay.
Okay, it's been recommended by the staff that we approve this supplemental paid leave policy. If there are no further questions or comments from the board, I'll ask if there's any contributions from the public. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Okay, if there's no public comment,
Oh, there's no public comment.
we
I'll
need
make,
a
I'll make the
motion.
motion for resolution number 5-2021.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. No further questions or comments. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins?
Yes.
Excuse me, just to back up, we're referring to item 3, approval of the supplemental paid sick leave, not the resolution. Am I following that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay,
That is correct.
So if we could redo a motion to address the policy?
I'll redo the motion to address the policy.
Okay, and we have a second by
Yes.
Smeltzer.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Rochelle, roll call, please.
Director Wilkins?
Yes.
Director Smeltzer?
Yes.
Director Tresson?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes,
And President Cox?
Yes.
Motion approved for the COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave policy.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of Resolution 5-2021, electing to adopt public agency vesting for post-retirement health benefits under Section 22893 of the Public Employees Medical and Hospital Care Act.
President Cox, I asked that we table this agenda item for approval of the resolution to a future board meeting. I wanted to go back and confirm a couple items prior to bringing it back to the board.
Okay, so ordered. Let's move on to the approval to solicit bids for the 2021 Lime System Improvement Project.
Parker, would you mind addressing that for the board, please?
Yep, no problem. Good morning, directors. So the agency uses a hydrated lime storage, conveyance, and feed system to deliver lime slurry to its chem sludge and rapid mix treatment systems. So currently, the hydrated lime is delivered using a pneumatic system that takes the hydrated lime from the bulk storage silos and delivers it to a lime slurry batch tank. Over the years, the operations maintenance departments have struggled with the system. There's a number of challenges and equipment failures that have occurred. And so the agency would like to replace the existing system with a new shaftless screw conveyance system. So this is a positive displacement delivery system as opposed to a pneumatic system. The work is contemplated to occur in fall of 2021. The engineer's estimate for the project is $130,000. The original budgeted amount is $150,000. And the recommendation is for the board to approve soliciting bids for the 2021 Lime System Improvements Project.
I got a question.
Sure.
With regards to the pneumatic system that's in place, was it clogging? What maintenance, what caused extra maintenance for that use? And why would you do it at this point as far as replacing that system with a totally different system?
Right. So the issues that have occurred to date are things like line plugging of the pneumatic tubing, failure of components on the system that is used to shuttle basically the lime from one hopper down to a lower hopper. There are problems with a what was called there's an indicator that indicates that we have feed going to the lime slurry tank. We had filter blinding issues. So to summarize it kind of at a higher level, it's a complex system. There's lots of pieces and parts to it. It's not a very simple system. The new system that we're proposing is a very simple system. There's just fewer waypoints in between for the hydrated lime to get from point A to point B. And why now? Why is it contemplated now? Well, it's been contemplated in the past, in the future. I mean, in the past, by operations and maintenance, they've wanted to go to a new system for a while. The prior managers in those departments were of the opinion that let's just try to make the existing system work. But it's just been this accumulating set of problems over the years. And so the ops and maintenance department staff have finally basically just said, we've had enough with the old system, let's try the new.
You're not going to use that old system as a backup system, are you?
So we are going to keep that old system in place only because this is a difficult product. Hydrated lime, no matter how you try to convey it, is going to be challenging. And so until the new system proves out, we're going to keep this existing system ready so that if we need to quickly deactivate anything that was done new to go back to the old while we fix the new problems, we can do that.
So we'll have a dual purpose bypass facility in place with this installation.
At least for the interim, and then I don't want to give the impression that it's just a flip of a switch and you can go from one system to the other. It would take some work, but we're talking about some kind of catastrophic failure. We would have a redundant system in place only until we get enough confidence that the new system is working well. At that point, we may go ahead and do some demolition of the existing system.
It seems like we spend a lot of money on that system now, keeping it functioning. And, you know, once that's up and you're confident that the other system is a replacement because the maintenance cost of the old system is not worth it. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you're gonna, I mean, how much of the budget is that gonna be in getting rid of it?
Well, yeah, so the upkeep cost for that existing system is really not much because it just sits there. You know, we won't have to do too much with it. But yes, there would be a real cost associated with demolition of the existing system. So either we'd have to budget for that, or potentially that's something we could do in-house over a long period of time.
No, that's good, because I mean, we've been discussing this for 15 years. Let's go for it.
Yep.
Okay, Richard, do you have any comment on this?
I echo Lane's sentiment of let's go for it.
Okay, Mike, any comment?
Jay, I have, yeah, I agree. It's been an operational, logistical issue for quite some time, and we've made modifications to the old system to make it work as well as we could. But I think a new technology and a new system, it's time for that. And you know, just since that one was installed almost 20 years ago now, the technology has improved, and this is a lot simpler method to move and deliver that product, and so we can utilize it how we need it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Any questions or comments from the board? Go ahead, David.
Yeah, my question would be, has this system been proven elsewhere? Is it a proven system in some other plant someplace? And further, what kind of maintenance are we looking at? I see it's a flex line with a screw inside of it. It just sounds like a maintenance issue itself.
So to address the first question, it is an established company. They do, it is being a PD, positive displacement type system. They do handle a lot of different dry products. As to, we could not get a lengthy installation list or any for that matter for hydrated lime, however, and that was one of the concerns. But we did ship them our product, and they were able to do some bench scale testing to ensure that there's nothing about this hydrated lime product that is different than other products. And they're saying that it will successfully deliver the product. With respect to maintenance requirements, I'm going to tap you, Richard, into your experience with what type of maintenance requirements you might be looking at for this.
Sure. I don't have much experience with flexible screws. Fortunately, our E&I supervisor does. He comes from the mining industry. They use them frequently in that industry, so he's very familiar. He's been a key role in reviewing all this as the project's moved forward. They are very robust. Most of the equipment that's on them is nothing out of the ordinary, gearbox, etc. The biggest unique thing is the shaftless flexible screw in the liner, and that's the wear item. So we've kept that in mind as we've gone through design to make sure that when the time comes to have to replace the liner, we're able to remove that long flexible screw. Think of it like a gigantic slinky. That's what they're like. So my understanding is they're very robust and used frequently throughout the mining industry. So I think we're in good shape.
I got another question here. With regards to the old system with the pneumatic, when that system failed or clogged, I mean, what alternative? I mean, did you just have to go back and fix that clog, or was there another way around to get the line to the facility?
So we have, we're fortunate in that we have two systems. We have a front and a back system. So when you have problems with one, you can often go to the other. But Michael, you could probably speak to some more specific instances that have happened.
Yeah, as Jay alluded to, we do have redundant system, and we will continue to have a redundant system because we will still have a front and a back system. So if we're working on one, we still have the other system that we can use to transport the hydrated lime and make our lime slurry. But it typically to descale the lines, and these lines aren't the original lines that were put in originally. They were bent aluminum lines, and we found out quite quickly that lime, that hydrated lime, when any moisture from the air mixes with that lime, it scaled up on that aluminum piping, and we could not actually clear this scaled lime precipitant out of the aluminum piping because it was, quite long runs with bends in them. And we had to go to a flexible tubing system that we can actually break the stuff up in and get it out. But man hours, every time we do that, it's at least a couple of hours of man hours to clear that out. And depending on the time of the year and how much humidity is in the air, seems to have an effect on how much scaling happens in those lines. And once it's scaled up enough, we just cannot move the product, and then we can't continue to make our lime slurry. So, and there's other maintenance issues that Richard could speak to. There's belts, there's augers on this system that transport the lime from the hopper into the slurry tank that has belts, and those belts quite frequently fail. We have other stainless steel components on there that crack and fail. We have gates, we have blowers. It was a very complicated system to transport this lime. So when you get that many moving parts, you typically have to do a lot of maintenance and repairs.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from any of the board members? And let's open this up for any conversation or contributions from the public. Rochelle?
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I do not have any hands raised for public comment on this item.
Okay, with that being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve the solicitation of bids for the lime system improvement project. Need a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Lewis.
Second.
Seconded by Director Smeltzer. No further questions or comments. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smeltzer,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion
Moving al-
approved.
Moving
You know,
along.
one additional comment here is that I hope these improvements that we're doing now go to Carrillo for how those fit into our master plan for the plants.
Yeah, so when they developed in their development of the draft master plan, they've looked and are incorporating anything in our current CIP. And this was in our current CIP.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're moving on. Let's talk about the approval of the award to the replacement of the exit road gate actuator project.
For those following electronically, we're on page 80 of 140. Mr. Palante, would you provide an update to the board, please?
Absolutely. Morning, President Cox, Board of Directors, Richard Palante, Maintenance Manager. Before you is the approval for award of bid to replace the existing front exit gate and actuator. Part of the 2021 budget process, we identified this item as needing replacement. It suffered frequent failures, and through our investigation, we found that the actuator was actually undersized for the size gate. So we budgeted for it. We went out to bid on March 10th. We closed bids on March 31st and received one responsive bid from AWAC Systems in the amount of $36,850. We reviewed the bid. We didn't find any irregularities. The $36,850 is well under the budgeted amount of $50,000. So bringing it to you for approval so we can replace and enhance our security system. Are there any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah, Richard, not really a technical question. Sounds like it's time to replace that. I'm just trying to track the projects and looking back on I guess it's page 30 of the packet where it's the Fund 6 budget. Was this defined as the facilities security system project? You say you budgeted $50,000. I'm just looking at the budget and, just trying to figure out, is this a capital project that was identified, or is this just part of the general operating budget, kind of repairs and maintenance that's under?
It was a capital project that was identified, and the funds in that bucket included some other enhancements. This was just one of the items.
And so that was defined as is that correct? It was defined as the facilities security system, the entry gate?
I would have to review back because I believe we have two different security system ones. Unless LaRue can help me out here. And
Okay, and that's under Fund 6 for the replacement, Blake. So yes, under the facility security system, we've allocated $50,000.
Okay.
That's what it applies to. Under the other category for security systems is under Fund 2. Bear with me while I flip that page. The security improvements, those pertain to the camera systems that came in, because those would be new.
Okay.
Thank you, LaRue.
Yep.
No further questions.
Anyone else from the board with any questions in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, hearing none, open it up for public comment. Anyone, Rochelle?
Yes, sir. We have Pippin Mater for public comment. Go ahead, Pippin.
All right, thanks, guys. Just a quick comment on this, actually a couple. One is I noticed that there's only one bid on this, and I noticed that on a couple of these, and I guess I'm a little, as a member of the public, I'd love to see multiple bids, or at least a couple on everything. I know that both toll fence and truckee overhead door both work in this space. And the other was about maintenance. I guess I was wondering whether a maintenance contract went along with this, or if this isn't maintained internally, because gate maintenance can often exceed the actual cost of the gate. Thanks.
Okay, anyone else, Rochelle?
No, that was all.
Okay, any further questions or comments from the public?
Just following up on Pippin's comment, I assume this was bid broadcast to more than just AWAC systems. I know it's a tough bidding climate now.
That is correct. We did go to open bid for it, and they were the only bidder. And we also did a mandatory job walk, and they were the only one that showed up for the job walk.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments.
Is there a maintenance contract with that? What Pippin brought up?
There is no maintenance contract included in the project. That will maintain that internally.
Okay, no guarantees.
There is a warranty on it. I believe we did a 3-year warranty.
Okay,
If
3-year
I remember
warranty.
correctly.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? Seeing none and hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve a contract award to AWAC Systems in the amount of $36,850. Need a
Also
motion?
move.
Been moved by Blake, seconded
Second.
by Wilkins. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Let's talk about the approval to issue a request for proposal for audit services. This is exhibit number 7 in the board agenda.
Correct. Michelle, could you provide an update to the board of directors, please, on the RFP?
Good morning, directors. I'm Michelle Mackey. I'm the accounting supervisor. And as you know, TTSA has contracted with DeMoore, Hamrick, and Schneider for many years for our audit. It was proposed by the board to look at changing auditors. And at that time, we were in the process of changing software systems. And we recommended that we stay with the current auditors during that time. However, we are now recommending a proposal to go out and solicit bids for a possible change. And we'd like you to consider that today. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, can I comment?
Go ahead.
Yeah, this has been, you know, I know we've had DeMoore Hamrick for over, I think, over 30 years. You know, it's been my pet peeve. We need new eyes taking a look at things, and it's always beneficial to us. And I just hope we can get solicit enough different audit firms to make this happen. And I strongly encourage this.
Go ahead, Blake.
I also think it's a great idea to put an RFP out. My only question is the timing. I know that we're currently in a recruitment phase for a new finance and admin manager who's going to have their hands full, just, you know, adjusting to business, hopefully business as usual, and to throw a new auditor in there and possibly the additional demands that might take. I just want to raise that question and make sure that, you know, we're not going to sidetrack that new finance and admin manager with the challenges of a new auditor, just as they're kind of getting on their feet. And so as long as staff is comfortable that that's not going to create an undue burden, I certainly think it's a good idea. I just wonder whether we want to maybe postpone this 1 year to make that transition for the new finance and admin manager a little bit easier.
Staff and I have discussed the potential of the extra workload due to this additional RFP coming in here. We do feel it's a task that the new finance and admin manager will have to contend with. However, we do have total faith and confidence in our current staff who've had many audits underneath their belt to provide assistance there. If it is something that the board feels that would be beneficial to wait another year, we can do so, but I think it would be appropriate for us to proceed as is. In addition, I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Wasley of TSD. And TSD in general, they've assisted us considerably with this RFP. They've provided some resources, some other agents, some consultants to reach out to. So I just wanted to acknowledge their efforts in helping us out there. But with that, I do recommend that we proceed with a RFP for this current year, but can delay at the discretion of the board. Do you have anything to add to that, Michelle? She would concur then, I believe.
Okay, with the discussion that's been taking place, is there any adverse effects of going ahead and putting out an RFP for additional requests for services, or where do we go from here on the staff's recommendation?
Yeah, it's the additional effects that there is that extra workload of the new manager coming in and having to learn the system and to get familiar with the department, analyze the finances and administration roles. This would be an extra task, but like I said earlier, I think we'll be able to support that manager with our current staff. So like I said, I don't foresee a need to delay.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from the public?
There are no hands raised from the public on this item.
Okay, with that being
that
said, what action do we need to take from the board?
So I would move that we approve the issuance of the RFP for audit services.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor from Director Wilkins. Need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none and hearing none. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item is exhibit number 8. This is the approval of the agency investment policy. Any questions or comments?
For those following, we're on page 89 of 140, those electronically. On an annual basis, the agency does review its investment policy. So in your packets, what you have here is the proposed investment policy. It is unchanged from last year. So there have been the exact policy we had last year. The recommendation is to adopt this investment policy. I do want to note that if there are other investments that we want to consider in the future, we can always come back and amend the policy as needed. But as it stands right now, the management and staff recommend that we adopt the TTSA investment policy.
Any questions or comments from the board? Anyone? The recommendation from the staff is to approve the investment policy as we've had in the past. Any comments from the public?
I think Blake had a question.
Blake, are you making a motion or you have a question?
No, I'm not making a motion. I just wanted, I'm fine with the policy as it stands and ready to approve. I just wanted to raise to LaRue's attention and to the rest of the board's attention that, I'd like to see somewhere where we define our investments in the employee retirement, the CERP fund, and encourage the board to also participate in the additional pension pre-funding trust that CalPERS has as well. LaRue had indicated this could be modified, whether it gets incorporated into this investment policy or as a separate policy. At TSD, we have them embedded into our investment policy as a available place to put district funds. I'm okay with the policy as is, but I'd like to going forward, investigate where we define those transfers of money for the district.
Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Rochelle?
We have no public comment.
So I'll move for, are we approving the agency's investment policy?
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the policy as read. Need a second. It's been seconded by Director Smeltzer. No further questions or comments. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smelser,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Moving along, the department reports. First one up.
Good morning, Board of Directors, President Cox. The operations report for the month of March. All plant discharge requirements were met for the month. Overall, the plant performed well through the month. Well 31 pH was between 6.5 and 6.6. Operations continues to add caustic solution to the final effluent. Agency has initiated solicitation of bids for the plant chemicals. It's that time of the year. Performed 2 plant shutdowns and startups to install 2 water flow meter and facilitate electrical repairs. The day shift operators are in the process of fulfilling the demonstration of capabilities for laboratory work for the weekends. And in the laboratory, staff performed necessary laboratory testing per WDR requirements for the month. Staff commenced the new training program for the operators to fulfill the demonstration of capabilities and to perform the weekend laboratory tests. As we discussed last month, ELAP issued compliance assistance and inspection report documentation was attached to the report. As you can see, after I don't know exactly which pages it is electronically, but and in the response to the agency's corrective action to the notice of the violation in order to correct, in summary, no further action is required, as we discussed last month. The new laboratory director has accepted the agency's offer of employment and is scheduled to start May 3rd. Work orders, we had completed 4 last month and 3 pending. And as you can see, the monthly average flows and all the limitations were met for the month. Any questions for the operations department?
I got a question.
Okay.
Is when we're looking at adding the caustic solution to the final effluent, is that going to be a regular maintenance practice now? And if so, what's the additional chemical costs for us in doing so?
I don't have those numbers right offhand for the additional cost, but I can definitely bring that back to you at the next meeting. And for right now, with the path forward is to continue to add the caustic solution to the effluent to maintain that pH of around a 7 on the final effluent. For the well 31 pH issues that we've had in the past is the corrective action that we're trying to take to see if that'll make a difference. But I can come back with some costs for you, what the extra costs are next month, if you'd like.
Well, at different times of the year, the pH changes. So, does it not?
In the ground at the well 31?
No, at our effluent release and at well 31, sometimes it goes up a hair. And you've been managing that with the increase in the caustic solution. I know we've never exceeded it at the plant, but down the road at 31, we've had, the 6.4 a few times, and that's the big indicator. And it just seems like it's almost by increasing the caustic solution is the solution to the problem.
I think we need more time to look at and study it to see if we have any more issues with the pH at well 31 as we're doing this caustic addition to the effluent.
Okay. My other question regards to when you perform a plant shutdown, okay, run me through that really quick. I mean, how long, when you shut down the plant, how long does it take to get it back up?
So that varies quite substantially. It depends on exactly what we're shutting down, if it's a full plant shutdown or if it's just a 2-water plant shutdown.
Oh, a full plant shutdown.
Full plant shutdown, typically to get the plant shut down to a point where we can turn it over to the maintenance department to do work. And typically it's for electrical work to be done so that they can power areas of the plant down so they can safely work in that area. Takes us about 1.5 hours to 2 hours typically to shut the plant down. And then to bring it back up, it's between about the same amount of time to bring it back up. As long as there's no other issues that happen while the power's out, like battery backup or PLC issues or something like that from a prolonged power outage. Sometimes we need the IT assistance to bring things back up, and it can extend the time that it takes us to get the plant back up a little bit. But we've got it down pretty good. The staff here are pretty fluent and trained in shutting down and starting back up. So
when the plant, say we have a major outage, power outage, whatever. Now that's all the effluent will go into the ERP till the time that fills up and then go into the ponds if we had a prolonged outage. Is that correct? And is that pumped?
That would be a prolonged outage that we didn't have our emergency generator backup. So we do have the emergency generator backup if we had a prolonged power outage, which should allow us to continue to run the plant. But if we had a prolonged outage, yes, we would fill the ERB up to a certain capacity before we started to bypass to, which is the emergency bypass system in the plant, before we started bypassing to the ponds. Yes.
Tell me this, based on a 3.74 mg, how much capacity do we have in the ponds? 2, 3, 4 days?
Altogether, we've got about
based on the
22 million gallons, roughly.
Yeah.
So it'd be more than 3 or 4 days at that flow rate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Mike?
I have a question, Dale. Back on the addition of the caustic at the discharge point from the plant, Mike, is there a downside to that long term?
Yes, it contributes extra TDS, which is total dissolved solids, to the effluent, which then goes out to the disposal fields, and that total dissolved solids can carry through to well 31 and eventually to the river. So it does have it does impact the effluent quality in that way, but it does increase the pH. Right now our set point is a 7.2. We started out with about a 7.5 pH set point. So we've been slowly reducing that a little bit to see where, what our lowest additional set point we can run and still maintain that pH at well 31. And again, I think we need more time, and also to kind of see the different seasons and see seasonal flows and how that all affects the field and what that does to the pH, because there's no guarantees at this point that we still won't drop below that 6.5 even with the caustic addition on the effluent. There's just no guarantees. But again, we'll come back with the cost for next month, what the additional cost is, and yes, there is TDS that is added to the effluent that's that we are limited on. We're still underneath our limits, but it does affect it.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Blake.
Mike, while you're doing the costs, I'd be also interested in like what the difference in TDS is. If there's I know it probably depends on when you're adding the caustic versus not, but in general, how much of an increase in dissolved solids adding the caustic contributes. And then you kind of breezed over it, but I wanted to just, call out and compliment you and all your staff that were involved in getting back into compliance with ELAP. It was really nice to see that letter that no further actions required. And so good job there.
Yes, the lab staff and operations staff working together did a great job on getting us back where we need to be. And there's still work to go. And I'm sure the new staff member will have their hands full, making sure that we're at compliance and above that.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments for the operations department?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead, Dave.
Now, will the new lab director report to the board in these reports? Is that part of the plan?
The lab director will report directly to me, and I'll report to the board as the manager of the department. Unless it's something specific to the lab that's been brought up that, sometimes the chief plant operator will report directly to the board, and also the lab director would be able to report directly to the board if requested.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none and hearing none. What's up, Richard?
Good morning again. So we continue to assist engineering with ongoing projects for the digester upgrade, chlorine scrubber replacement, line feed, and the chiller replacement. In addition, we took on an in-house project to demolish the old grit classifier so we could make room for inside storage of our new air compressor. Completed some various safety work orders, continued on emergency lighting replacement plant-wide, which is enhancing our emergency and safety program. We also continued in-house CDL training with one of our staff members. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward maintenance month. We completed 45 mechanical, 9 fleet, and 17 E&I work orders. We have 115 pending mechanical, 25 fleet, and 51 in electrical. Those numbers have been holding pretty steady. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, how's that submersible pump and power pack project? How's that coming?
We received it. We test ran it. It tested out perfect. So now it's in storage and ready to go when we need it.
Okay, it performed the way you anticipated it to perform as far as training. There's not that much to it, is there?
No, they're pretty straightforward. There's only a couple of things that you have to operationally be really aware of when you start them up. But other than that, it's a very straightforward, easy to operate, fairly easy to maintain piece of equipment, and it works really, really well.
Okay, so your whole staff participated in that testing and everything on that. So there's more than a few people that know how to operate it.
I'll say we didn't have all of the maintenance staff. We had a combination of maintenance staff and operations staff at the training that the vendor put on, with the intent of that person will then train the other staff. And we also videoed that, so we have video for the staff to watch. And then just again, this pump is the same that they were all exposed to when we did the digester cleaning. So several people have already operated one in the past. This is just the newest version that they've got out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments for Richard? Moving along. What's up, Jay?
Good morning again, directors. Construction season is upon us. May 1, soil disturbance lifts. So we're starting to see projects heat up, including our own. Headworks Improvements Project is going to be kicking off on May 3rd in terms of groundbreaking. Chiller replacement will be in June, and plant painting project in May. And then we have our other ongoing projects that we're gearing up for example, the Lime System Improvements Project, which we previously discussed, chlorine scrubber, et cetera, and also close out of old projects. So I've listed quite a few projects here. I'm happy to elaborate on any of them if anybody has any questions on them.
I got a question regarding the digital scan. Give us an update on the digital scanning of the TRI.
Yep, so digital scanning on the 2020, our vendor is still struggling with providing us with the final deliverable on the sections that we're missing. So what we're doing is we're adding those sections onto this year's contract to make sure we go back and capture those. Then we're also on the 2021 digital scanning project, we'll be coming to you, I think it's next month, for approval to solicit bids for the 2021 effort. And this 2021 effort will be in the middle section of the TRI.
Okay. How, approximately how many, was there much, over when that scanning, I mean, how many work orders did that last year on that section that they scanned, did that produce? Was there much? What's the condition of the overall, what you see as far as the line as a whole looking down the road, the wear and tear on the TRI? That's most important.
Sure. So overall condition on the TRI, I'd say is very good to excellent. We don't see large deterioration spots like we had responded to in prior years in certain sections. All the evidence that we've seen in terms of construction, when coupons are cut out of the pipe, those coupons are in great shape. We're continuing to monitor things because, of course, things change, and we need to, that's the purpose of, one of the primary purposes of digital scanning every year, is so you can monitor any changes that occur. That being said, about the overall condition, there are quite a few spots that that need to be cleaned. And I know that this is so cleaned as in we have spots where debris is settled into the pipe, in the lower velocity sections. And Richard is working on getting a vendor out to clean those sections. Richard, do you have anything you want to add on that aspect of it?
Not really much more to add other than we'll be, it's a few significant areas. I see it being in the realm of having to be bid. So we'll be coming back to bid with a bid award here in the next few months. So I'm actively working on it now, getting cost estimates together.
Looking at this, I mean, we televise it every 3 years, the whole line. Jay, you've been on this, for as long as you've been at TTSA. Or Richard, where is our weakest link in the TRI as you see it?
So, the next, what we envision as the next few projects are areas where we have a bigger consequence if there's a failure. So like if you had a pipeline right, next to the river, but you have a competing section in pipe that's far away from the river, and all else is being equal, you prioritize what's close to the river because it has a higher consequence of failure, bigger impact to the river. So Corlo in the master plan is identifying what they see as the high criticality areas, and they largely have to do with the critical failure possibility. Not that it's in a condition that it's about to critically fail. What I'm talking about is that what would be the consequence if it were to fail. By and large, those are the sections that are closer to the river versus far away. So the master plan we'll identify what those areas are.
Okay, based on a 3.74 MGB average daily basis, if we had something collapse in the line, is our bypass, do we have enough bypass capability as we sit here now to get around a collapse?
So we have a fleet of bypass pumps and a hose reel system, and in combination of working with those pumps, depending on where you're pumping from and pumping to, you've got different capacities. But you could pick any flow and you'd come up with a different answer. But we have a mutual aid agreement between all the districts, and then plus we have contact information for bypass contractors. So in the event that our fleet, either TTSA's fleet or the collective mutual aid fleet, would not be able to keep up with the flow, we would then call these bypass contractors on an emergency basis to assist. I feel like we
bypass. Okay, go ahead. I mean, the only other bypass system is North Tahoe's. Is that correct?
Well, TSD has a small, or a comparatively small system compared to what we have. But we have made these key purchases, including the Godwins recently, to bolster our fleet. I feel like we're in a good position. I don't of course take the worst case scenario of the 1997 event and a failure. Of course you're going to need outside help. So, but in general, I feel like we're in a good position.
In the past, it's I know in the past you've had mutual aid projects, trying to keep everybody, all member districts there, to work out an emergency situation. I don't know if we've done one within the last 2 or 3 years, but it's not a bad process to implement. So all the districts know and help out and be able to keep the function of the sewage flowing.
Right. And Richard, I don't know, do you want to talk about training at all on our staff?
I agree, Director Lewis, as far as doing the trainings with the others. As you know, we have a fairly new mechanical supervisor on board. One of his current assignments is inventorying all of our bypass equipment so that this budget year we can shore up any shortcomings we have or replace any equipment that's just gotten aged from sitting and needs to be replaced. The one thing I think we need to look at is since COVID hit, prior to COVID, we were having managers meetings regularly with all the other member districts. And those were really good. We would talk about mutual aid. With COVID, I threw that whole twist in there where we haven't been able to get together in quite a while. I think it's something that we need to reestablish because I think that is that'll be key if we ever find ourselves in a situation where we're needing to rely on each other and know what everybody has and where to meet up, et cetera. So those are things that we're actively working on right now with the new mechanical supervisor. So more to come, and we'll provide updates as we schedule these items. The intent is to do a internal training and exercise event. It was hopeful that we'd do it this summer. We just have a lot of other projects that we'll be supporting this summer. And then just setting up the equipment within the plant with the other contractors that are going to be working at Headworks and stuff. It just makes for a tight footprint. So we're going to have to see how that all works out.
Right. I'm not looking at anything immediate till COVID gets out of our way. I just, one of the things you could do now is just making sure that, the other member districts, TSD and North Tahoe and yourself, that we're all have the same type of hookups and stuff like that. So if something did happen, you're ready to go to it. That's all.
Understood, and we will make that a priority. And we are working on one thing we're doing on our end is making up adapters so that if someone changes and we don't get the word or we're bringing in rental equipment, we have every contraption available to adapt from, whether it be Bauer, Camlock, whatever the fitting is, flange, Victaulic. We have every adapter we need to make it made up to the other type of fittings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You know, Richard, with the discussion that we've just had over our equipment and our adaptability with member districts to be able to hook up to our equipment, has there ever been any thought or discussion revolving around a training session or a mock emergency session where we could actually put into motion the procedures that it would take to be able to react to TRI collapse or some kind of a major catastrophe that we'd have to bring in the troops and put together a collective effort to see to it that we don't have a major spill or calamity. Have we ever discussed in-house about having some kind of a training session with member districts?
We have discussed it, but that's honestly, that's as far as it's gone. It's been discussion as far as recognize the importance of doing it, and then talking about how we would do it, where we would do it. There's the items that we need to continue to flesh out. It was one of the discussion items at the very end of the managers meetings that we were having. It was one of the topics that was coming up, and then again, COVID hit. So hopefully once we get through COVID and we get back, it can be one of the first topics that we discuss.
Yeah, now with that being said, Richard, would there have to be a few different emergency scenarios in as much as, let's say, North Tahoe has a collapse or Alpine has some kind of a catastrophe or SPOA, that would we have to have a scenario within the member districts, or how would that happen?
I think it'd absolutely be helpful to do scenarios in each of the districts. One, we get to know each other better, you know, and we get to familiarize ourselves with each of the systems a little bit. You know, we tend to be a little bit isolated from all of the member districts when we're just doing maintenance at the plant. So it'd be good to do one in each one and open that up. I think it'll be a big task to coordinate all that, and it may take some time because there's a lot of moving parts. And it might start off as a simple tabletop exercise where we just pull out some plans and we talk about our critical areas and how we would react and what time it would take for us to mobilize a crews. We're talking a lot of equipment to move. Some of the areas would be very, very difficult and time consuming to get the equipment into, to set up the bypass pumping. You know, and there's different avenues you can take. You know, bypass pumping is one. When I worked a major collapse at my previous employer, all we did was reestablish a trench. It's gravity flow, and we just opened up the other end and let it continue to flow until we could mobilize a contractor to make emergency repairs. So we were able to maintain it just in a ditch. So there's various approaches to take, and those are things we need to talk about and hear everyone's experiences and what's worked for them and what didn't work.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Is there anything else that we're going to talk about here for engineering or maintenance?
Just real quick, I know we've good discussion here. I really enjoyed the input that Jay and Richard provided. Jay, what is the timing on the Carollo Sewer Master Plan?
So we have comments back to them. There were significant comments that they need to address. You know, they gave us an indication that it'd be within, you know, the next, a month ago is within the next few months. But so probably at this point, within the next couple months, we should see something back.
Great. And then just the Headworks project, that's probably the largest project I'll have seen the agency embark on since I've been a director. I look forward to seeing some documentation, photos and what have you as the contractor starts to go there. So
absolutely, yeah, it's an exciting project for us.
Okay, any questions or comments for engineering?
One last comment. I did take, I was fortunate enough to go down to the plant last week and go through the new remodel and everything, and what an outstanding project that turned out to be, and look forward to getting back into that boardroom with all you guys there.
Okay, thank you. And again, need to thank all the departments that worked together on that: maintenance, IT, ops, admin. Thank you.
Great project.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move ahead and see what Bob Gray's got going on.
President Cox, before we do so, Dave, I saw your hand raised and then it was lowered. Was your question addressed?
No, I was trying to learn the language there. TRI.
It's a Truckee River
Thank you.
Interceptor. So
Thank you.
it's our main pipeline, between Tahoe City and the plant.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I figured.
What's up, Bob?
Good morning, directors. The IT department has been continuing our focus on our computer server and network infrastructure. We have finished the migration of our plan information and our SCADA information system software onto our newest servers. We have 3 full development environments for our PLC and SCADA programming, 1 for each member of the IT staff now. We don't have to share machines anymore. Working with instrumentation, electrical, excuse me, and our vendor Rockwell, we were able to get all of our larger Allen Bradley drive communications devices installed. We had a stopgap solution in place until the specified modules were available and functioning correctly. I could say we finally finished that project. For operations, we continue with upgrades and modifications to the Logbook web portal, which has been in operation for about 4 months now, with notification features that have been recently implemented. With operations guidance, we are still actively programming on a daily batch reporting program for all the data that's generated from the dewatering centrifuges. And internally, we've been keeping up with maintaining training with our cybersecurity through the Department of Homeland Security and their corresponding subdepartments online. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Bob? Seeing none and hearing none. Let's move on to administrative department reports.
I provided right up there for the administrative report. I just want to provide an update to the resolution 221 for the relief plan. As of this date, excuse me while I flip to the page, we have already processed the automatic relief programs. The component of that program to where those that we viewed as be automatic, such as restaurants, churches, and I think theaters, that they've received they're in the process of getting their relief implemented. We've loaded the application component to our website. We are going to go ahead and send out a notification mailer to all of our commercial customers, and that date is expected to be the 26th, I think this coming Monday. By the 29th, we expect to have a follow-up notification to those that have received an application, received a relief on the 29th, meaning a letter to the automatic people stating that you've received relief. Again, as a reminder, the relief is going to be in 2 forms as of right now, which is an actual check or a credit, because some of those are taxed or billed to the tax roll. So as an update to that, we're doing great. The staff is doing well. They've taken on the extra burden. And I want to commend Celeste in the billing department for her work in that area there. And that concludes the administrative report. If there's any questions, I can address those as well.
Any questions or comments from the board on any other department's reports?
LaRue, can you give us an update on the recruitment process for the finance and admin manager?
Sure. We have closed the recruitment on that, as you know. We held our second round of interviews this past week. We are currently vetting out the results of the second interview process, and we hope to make an offer to the highest candidate by the end of this week or midweek of next week. So the recruitment process is going well. We have, I think, quite a few viable candidates that'll be able to assist and benefit the agency. And then once that is submitted and received. I'll provide an update to the next board meeting accordingly.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions from the board members on any of the department or staff reports? I'd like to open it up to the public with any questions or comments in regards to any of the staff reports. Anyone?
Yes, we have one public comment at this time. Pippin Mater. Go ahead, Pippin.
Great, thanks guys. I had 3 public comments on this. First was on the HRA, the health reimbursement account. I appreciate what you guys did last fall when you allowed that 90-10 versus 80-20 health options. But I will say that it's been a challenging program to implement, and that the agency and the contractor don't seem to be been able to work closely on this, and it doesn't. My understanding anyway is at the moment it's not working. So I think that that's something that needs to be, that needs to work for their employees. The second was a question about the cameras that were approved earlier in the late last year. I was kind of wondering about getting an update on what was going on with those. It was a fairly expensive project, and it's my understanding that those are not in yet, or partially in, or there's been some kind of a disconnect between the contractor and management, or anyway, I'd love to hear more about that. And then finally, the ELAP notice. So I'd love to direct you guys to page 108 of the board packet. So I will say that I initially read that, and I read to the first bold sentence that says no further action is required from the laboratory to comply with the order, and I thought, great. Similar, I think, to probably how Blake read that similarly based on his comments a minute ago. But then I read the rest of it, and I would encourage you as the board to read that. It is not particularly flattering. Even at the bottom of that page 108, that when we talk about the quality manual, and I'll quote a couple things, but it says that corrective action process should not be included in the QM manual. And at the bottom of 109, it says, and I quote, as a reminder, corrective actions should not be used as a tool for staff discipline and are intended to assist the laboratory with the goal of continual improvements. I will just want to point out that's a pretty strange thing to put in this document. I will also notice that if you look at page 117, the last full paragraph of 117, they discuss a disconnect between the requirements found in state law for the lab director to oversee anyone working in the lab and the opinion of the operations management and what they're saying during the audit. And as I read it, this paragraph makes it pretty clear that anyone working in the lab must be under the direct supervision of the lab director. And I feel like this is, I'm beating a dead horse, and I apologize for that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that is my understanding that you'll be hiring this new lab director very soon, maybe in 2 weeks. And one of the first actions that they will be requested to do by management will be to approve these non-lab staff to do lab testing, right? The operators. And not only will management be asking this person to approve these people to do lab testing that they have not seen trained, but because they will be new to the agency, they'll be on probation for the first year. And considering how contentious this item has been, and that the previous lab director left because of this issue, and the clear ELAP concern, I suggest that the board direct management to postpone having the operators sign off, or having to sign off the operators on lab testing until the lab manager, the new lab manager, is no longer on probation and can make an unbiased decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Pippin. And I do not have anyone else who has their hand raised for public comment.
Okay, I see that Vicki just came on the screen. Vicki, do you have any report for the board other than what's already happened in this meeting?
Although Vicki is shown on the screen, I don't know if she's still at her desk. Oh, I take it. there you go.
I am here. No, Dale, I did not have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else under any of the operations or management reports, let's move on to General Manager. Anything to report, General Manager?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add a couple points here. At last month's, we approved the offer of dedication for Olympic Valley. We found out that when they submitted the documentation to get recorded at the county had some comments to the drawings. So that's postponed that a little bit. They provided the drawings to us for our input. We had none. I think the comments from the county were very minor. So what I'd like to do is just, in lieu of it having the approval process be done again, once it is recorded, I will go ahead and give you guys a copy of it. Again, they're really minor things. They do not affect the overall impact of the intent of the document, just to record it and have the manual be dedicated to us. I also wanted to let you know that we have looked into defensible space. We actually had the Truckee Fire come by, give us a little, some insight on where we can improve our defensible space around the plant. So that was real helpful. That was performed just the other day. We have also recruited the assistance of a consultant to help us provide maybe a new design for the front yard. So now that we've done the interior of the building, we were focusing on the exterior. And then once that comes by, depending on the impact of the changes, we may or may not bring that to the board for approval. And then I wanted to just provide some acknowledgements and thank yous to some of the efforts of staff here. Right now, again, I've already did it in the administrative department for Celeste, but I wanted to again point it out. She's taken on the whole COVID relief plan by herself. She's assisted in drafting the documentation, doing the research of all these parcels. We're talking hundreds of parcels. It sounds very simple when we speak about it, but there's a lot of work that's happening in the background, so she's doing a great job there. Again, good job. Kudos to the lab for continuing to do the demonstration of competency for the analysts to perform the weekend testing. I want to acknowledge that Vicky Lufano has been in every recruitment interview process in addition to performing her job. So some of us have been able to just be present for certain recruitments, but Vicky's been there for everyone. And on top of that, doing her tasks, she's doing a great job there. Going back to the acknowledgements, I just wanted to point out that even though we went over real quickly and said someone passed a grade 5 Tyler Penn, I just want the board to acknowledge, to be aware of the fact that the grade 5 is the highest testing certification for the wastewater treatment plant operators. It takes years of service. It takes quite a considerable amount of knowledge. And I just want it to be known that it's quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to him for that. And as it comes to the 5 years acknowledgement for individuals here for their anniversaries, Mr. Kilgore and Mr. Tyler Penn, those are two of the more junior operators here, and they're progressing real quickly, like Mr. Tyler Penn did to his grade 5. So I just wanted to let it be known that the agency is going to be in good hands as the older generation, if I may, retire and leave, and the new ones come in. So I just wanted to point out that the agency is in safe hands. Other than that, I have nothing else to report for the general manager's report. I can take any questions if there are any.
Any questions or comments for LaRue? Seeing none and hearing none. Public comment for LaRue.
No public comment.
Okay, let's move on to director's comments. Any comment, Blake? What about you, Dan? Lane?
Yes, as I said before, I had the opportunity to tour the plant down there last week, talked to multiple employees, and I was most impressed with those improvements that were done, and had a really good discussion with employees. You know, everybody's doing a great job. As far as it wasn't too in depth, but you know, everything is in order, and I can't wait, as I said before, to it looks like in June we might be able to finally have the meeting in our new conference room. So that was an impressive piece of work, and all the staff should be commended on that last remodel.
Thank you, Lane. David Smeltzer.
I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, I got one question, and it doesn't have to be any kind of an elaborate response, but maybe it's been a couple of years ago, we had a request, I think it was from maybe Taos Forest Hospital, or maybe it was a private clinic, about receiving the discharge from dialysis, kidney dialysis machines. And at that time, if my memory serves me correct, we did not have the capacity, not so much the capacity, but the ability to treat dialysis effluent. And I just wondered if we have made any headway in being able to perform that kind of service in our region, because I believe anybody with kidney dialysis problems have to drive all the way to Reno. Have we made any headway, or are we addressing the possibility of helping out Taos Forest Hospital or any of the medical facilities in receiving this discharge?
I can speak initially, and then I'll hand it off to Jay for more historical information. Since I've been here, I've not had any interactions or further inquiries regarding the Taos Forest Hospital for dialysis flows. Maybe Jay can provide some further history prior to my tenure here.
Yeah, Dale, what you're remembering is that we had a challenge on that, receiving waters that were very high in TDS and chlorides, and the fact that with pretreatment, anything that our pretreatment program, anything that causes potential upset in the plant or a potential pass through, and could compromise our WDRs, is something that you take into account when you're reviewing applicants such as the dialysis center. And that type of discharge, the quality of the water wouldn't be different today than what we had analyzed in the past. In terms of the TDS, ability to treat TDS and chlorides, that's pretty much a pass through in our plant. Michael, do you have anything you want to add on this in terms of those type of constituents in the plant?
None other than to agree with you that we have not made any changes to the plant that would treat the type of contaminants that are in that water or in that discharge.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to follow up a discussion with you and Richard or LaRue in regards to this. I'd like to see us be able to serve the community in a more thorough manner when it comes to this type of a situation. I don't want to see a total overhaul of the plant or anything like that, but I was just hoping that there would be a way that we could better serve the region with our plant. And if there's no other way around it, I can understand that. But I just wondered if we were doing anything to address that possibility. And I don't think there's any more discussion that we need to have on this, but I just needed a little refresher on this issue.
Yeah, President Cox, if you want to give me a call, I'll be able to address any comments.
Yeah, well, I'll come in the office here in the next few days, and we'll talk about it. And it'll, like I say, I don't expect any big discussion on it. I just wanted to know if we had done anything to address the request on being able to treat this effluent. So if there's no other discussion from the director's comments, the next item on the agenda is closed session. So with that, I need a motion to move to closed session, please.
I'll make that motion to move to closed session.
It's been moved by Director Lewis,
I'll second.
seconded by Director Smeltzer. Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smeltzer,
Yes.
Director Tresson, Director Lewis,
Yes.
and President Cox.
Yes.
Motion approved to go into closed session, and the time is 10:43. And we are back in open session, and I'm going to go ahead and, let's see, move all of the others back to attendees really quick. And Dale, you can go ahead.
Okay, we're back in open session. Counselor.
Yes, under moving to agenda item, report from closed session, there's no action to report from the just concluded closed session discussion.
Okay. If there is no other action to be taken before this April the 21st board meeting, one last request for any comments from the directors. Director Lewis,
Dale,
No.
we have one more business
No.
item.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have business item Roman numeral 9, number 2, consider amendment of general manager employment agreement. The board should take open session action on that amendment if
Okay,
desired.
thank you, counsel.
And if you,
Consider amendment of general manager's employment agreement.
and if you'd like, I can summarize the key terms from that amendment.
Please do, counsel.
The amendment was included in the board meeting agenda packet, but just a brief summary. The amendment would extend the GM employment agreement to May 3, 2023. Thereafter, it would roll over on 2-year extensions unless one of the parties gives notice of termination to the other party. Secondly, it would increase the employee's salary to step 6 on the salary schedule, effective April 1, 2022. Next, it would confirm that the general manager is eligible to participate in the new agency pay for performance appraisal, also known as non-base pay compensation program. And lastly, then the agreement also provides that, confirms that there would be regular annual performance evaluations of the general manager. And lastly, the amendment would incorporate the new general manager job description as a contract exhibit.
Okay, with that being said, does any of the directors have anything to say as concluding or conclusion comments? Director Lewis. Director Smeltzer.
No, I'm good.
Director Tesson.
Not at this time.
Director Wilkins.
And thank you.
So if there's no other issues to be brought before this board, at this April the 21st, 2021 meeting, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Any public
Dale, there
comment?
should first be consider whether a motion is appropriate to approve amendment number 2 to the GM employment agreement.
I'd suggest we take public comment first.
Very good.
Okay, public comment in regards to the amendment to general manager's employment agreement. Any public comment, Rochelle?
I have no hands raised from the public for comment on this item.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the amendment of the general manager's employment agreement. Need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
It's
I'll
been
second.
moved by Director Wilkins,
Second.
seconded by Director Smeltzer. No further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Director Wilkins,
Yes.
Director Smeltzer,
Yes.
Director Tresson,
Yes.
Director Lewis. That was a yes, but he is, let me unmute you real quick. Yes, Director Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. And President Cox?
Yes.
Motion approved for the amendment to the general manager employment agreement. And now we have a motion to adjourn. President Cox?
If there's no other issues, or agenda items that need to be addressed, Smeltzer, you got a comment?
Nope. I'll make the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Smeltzer to adjourn. We need a second.
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 It's been seconded by Wilkins. All in favor, roll call, please.
Director Wilkins?
Yes.
Director Smeltzer?
Yes.
Director Tresson?
Yes.
Director Lewis?
Yes.
And President Cox?
Yes.
Motion approved to adjourn, and the time is 11:57.